Hey guys, it's Mooty here, and Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire did have some pretty cool new features such as new megas, cooler secret bases, and the Dex Nav. However, there are some extra features I really would have liked to see in this game or future Pokemon games coming out. You can agree with some of these, or you can post your own suggestions in the comments down below and we could just have a discussion about it, but these are some of the features I would have loved to see. In the remakes of Ruby and Sapphire, we were introduced to a new way of traveling featuring the Eon Flute and soaring on Latios. This replaced the need to have a Pokemon with Fly on your team, as you could just travel from city to city and route to route without having to worry about keeping the HM on a Pokemon in your party. It would have been really convenient to have a similar item be able to replace the other HMs so we don't waste a Pokemon slot that's dedicated to being an HM slave. Granted, some HMs are useful, but most of them just suck in battles. This next feature I'm sure everyone has been craving. In the remakes of Pokemon Gold and Silver, we were introduced with a new and awesome feature. We had the ability to have the leading Pokemon in our party physically follow behind us on our journey, and this was a really unique feature that a lot of Pokemon fans have been craving and asking for since they introduced it in that one game and just never brought it back again. So, following the Heart Gold and Soul Silver games, we've just yet to see if it'll ever even be brought back because there was no suggestion of it ever. So, it made the game so much more enjoyable, and it felt like you had a closer connection with your Pokemon, and you could have switched up your leading Pokemon at any time just to see the sprite run behind you. So it would have been nice to see this feature in ORAS, but we have hope for the future. Another huge feature that I think many players want to see is a 6v6 battle spot. This simulates the traditional style of battling when you play with your friends online. However, it would just negate the necessity to add friend codes when you can jump right into battle. Battle Spot is meant to be a fast-paced game, but it would have been nice to include the feature, especially for those who can't necessarily get many friend codes to traditional battle. And instead of being forced to pick 3 out of 6 Pokemon, you'd bring an entire team, which also limits the amount of times you actually get swept just because you don't bring a counter or a specific poke on a team. Many VGC players would also welcome a category purely for VGC play instead of relying on special rules Battle Spot. However, this doesn't look like it's happening anytime soon, but with Nintendo trying to push their metagame, it might eventually, but it hasn't yet. Now, this feature I can let slide because Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire are remakes, and they did have definite characters throughout the storyline, which did have specific clothing and whatnot. Pokemon X and Y was the first to introduce character customization, and me being the female that I am, spent all of my money customizing and changing my character's hair. I wish the male characters had more options to pick from, as they seemed very limited. The female customization was more expansive than the male was, and I hope that in the future games they bring this option back and give males the ability to customize their characters to the extent they did the females. I absolutely love this feature and I thought it was great, so hopefully we see it return. Maybe not in this remake, but maybe in the next Pokemon game. There was absolutely no way I was going to make this video and not include the Battle Frontier. The Battle Frontier is an area that features several different arenas, and each one having a different set of rules and battle style. The higher your winning streak went, the closer you got to challenging the frontier brain of the arena, and this guy or girl was kind of like a gym leader for the place. So many players were disappointed, including me, not seeing this feature included in ORAS since it was huge. One of my favorites was the Battle Factory, where you got to pick from a team of rental Pokemon and battle with them. And then the next one is the Battle Pike, which had 3 rooms to pick one. One room would contain a single battle, one room would have a double battle with 2 trainers, and the last room was the room that you always wanted to get picked in because it was the room that if you won the single battle there, then all of your Pokemon would completely healed. Otherwise, you had to make this whole run without actually having healed Pokemon, which would be really difficult since the players do increasingly get challenging. The next one is the Battle Tower, and this one was originally included in Ruby and Sapphire, and it features a standard 3v3 battle, or you could have gone in a double battle with 4v4. You'd have straight runs of 7 trainers that got stronger as you advanced, and as you advanced to a certain point, you'd end up battling the Frontier Brain. The Battle Dome was also one of my favorites. The Battle Dome was a tournament-style organized arena between 16 trainers. They included a tournament bracket which you could follow after every round as you made your way up, and they'd also kind of include little tips about the opponent's team as well. So this was a really fun way to battle in an actual tournament-style battle. Next, the Battle Arena was also a pretty interesting one. It would put 2 Pokemon against each other for 3 rounds, and then it would rate them on how they battle, and the higher rated Pokemon would win. Usually the Pokemon were scored on their mind, their skill, and their bodies. So this was definitely an interesting concept that they introduced as a part of the Battle Tower. It wasn't one that I played too much, but it was also one that I definitely have a lot of respect for because it is definitely very creative. The next arena is the Battle Palace, and this one probably had one of the most interesting concepts on the whole frontier. I used to love this one so much. Pokemon would battle on their own without any commands from their trainers. So the way they determined this was by Pokemon's nature, and as your Pokemon's health went lower, the way it would battle would also vary. So I really thought that this concept was very interesting because you had absolutely no control over your Pokemon. And granted, it wasn't all like computer simulated because there were certain factors that played into it. It was still a really interesting concept. The last arena of the Battle Frontier is the Battle Pyramid. The Battle Pyramid is a 7-layer pyramid, and as you went through it, it would simulate being in a dark cave, so you couldn't see anything, and you'd end up running into trainers left and right. As you defeat the trainers on each level, the floor would end up lighting up more so you can make your way to the top. Unfortunately, this was difficult because you weren't allowed items except for the items that you found within the pyramid. These were the only items that you were allowed to use, so if you ran low on health, or if you ran low on power points, then you were kind of screwed. But this was also a really fun and interesting concept. As much as we all love the Battle Frontier, there are hints in ORAS that suggest they wanted to include a Battle Frontier. If you talk to this person at the Battle Resort, they say, the Battle Resort is still popular, but there is a plan to make it a more special and robust battle facility called the Battle Frontier. Now, how they're gonna do this, we have no idea. Whether they're releasing like a remake of Emerald, or they're releasing some sort of DLC or update or whatnot, we aren't sure of, but they do hint that there is the Battle Tower right in front of you like it was in the original Ruby and Sapphire games, so who knows. There's still a chance they might decide to include the Battle Frontier, and like I said, there are hints in the game that do suggest it doing so. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, you can leave a like, and you can always leave your suggestions for features you would have loved to seen in ORAS down below. I'll be sure to read them, and hopefully we can have a nice discussion about it. As always, I love you all and have a wonderful day.